Pittsburgh Children's Museum.
Hurry up, let me go.
Okay. And he saw a beautiful wasp's nest. And he reached for it and he said, no, no, no. You have to follow directions carefully. When somebody tells you to do something, you have to follow directions carefully. So he left the wasp's nest open. Then finally he looked over and he saw a what?
A beehive!
Right! And the bees were buzzing. And the honey was dripping from it. He said, okay, this is it. And he reached over and he got the beehive and he stuck it in his mouth. And you can still hear the bees. And one of the bees suddenly stung the roof of his mouth. And he started to open his mouth, but he remembered that he was told, do not open your mouth or you won't get a big voice. So he kept his mouth closed. Then one of the bees stung his tongue. Ooh! Tears started coming out of his eyes, but he didn't open his mouth. Then one of the bees stung his throat, and then it stung his windpipe, and then it stung his... Then finally, 3 of them stung him in the stomach, and he couldn't help but open his mouth. And he said, wow! He said, is that my voice? Gee, what? When he did that, all the other animals in the forest said, gee, I've never heard anything like that before. So they came out, and they said, Mr. Lion, was that you? He said, yes! He said, wow, we never heard anything like that before. The lion said, well, do you want to hear me do it again? No, I want your help this time. And they said, yeah, do it again. And what did he say? Hi, I'm Bob Gore, African storyteller from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And strolling along with me through South Park is my third cousin, Brandon Rhodes. We have a lot of fun together. Every time I get a chance to tell stories to either children or adults, I take it. Because I like the thought of passing on this wonderful tradition of oral history to others. I also am an actor, a teacher, and I give workshops to other teachers who want to learn more about storytelling. I have something to tell you. All of the animals in the jungle are laughing at you. That lion got mad. He said, why? He said, that's why, because you sound like a little kitten big as you are. The lion didn't like that. But the rabbit said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Since we're good friends, I'm going to fix it so you have the biggest voice in all the jungle. And the lion said, meow. Just be quiet. You'll make me laugh. He said, here's what you have to do. You have to do exactly as I tell you if you want the biggest voice in all the jungle. He said, this may hurt. It may hurt a lot. But no pain, no gain. So he said, I want you to go out and find a beehive. And I want you to take that beehive and stuff it in your mouth. And the lion said, what? He said, yeah, go. You'll find this beehive, and the bees will be buzzing around, and the honey will be dripping from it. And I want you to stuff it in your mouth. Now, you cannot...
The spider say 5.
You?
I liked it when the goose played a trick on him.
When the goose played a trick on Anansi? What story did you like?
I like the story where the spider was hanging. When the turtle was hanging. The spider said 5.
And then what?
And then the spider fell down, and then the goose ate him for dinner.
What does that story teach us?
If somebody put a trick on you, then sometimes you put a trick on them. The one when the thingy try to get the lion voice back. And then he said, well, could you give me a new coat? And then he painted him a new coat. The one where they hit the flood.
The hyena?
Where are we going, she asks. We're already at the Pittsburgh Children's Museum. This is an incredible place. I've worked with the museum for the past 2.5 years. It's a wonderful place to tell stories because you've got so many kids and their parents there all the time. And the kids seem to love the place. They've got so many things to play with. Now, when it's storytelling time at the Pittsburgh Children's Museum, that's when I begin to get my greatest satisfaction because all the kids are right there together waiting to hear me.
What's your head so I don't hit it?
Most of my stories are found in books about Africa, and most of the time they're about animals. I think it's important for kids to understand about animals. Plus, it's a little easier to get a point of view across if you can use animals and not humans. In fact, sometimes we act quite a bit like animals, don't we? People have to understand at a very early age that animals have feelings just like humans. One of the things I like to watch is the reaction of kids, their faces sometimes. And at some other times, I want to know exactly what they think about what we've been hearing.
Yeah,
What was the witch's name?
5.
And what happened to the goose?
He fell down and Nancy the spider ate him.
Right. He took him home and they had a big meal. Do you remember what other animals were in that story? You don't. Was there a rabbit in the story? Yes, there was.
No, there wasn't.
Miss Rabbit was the first one to come by, wasn't she?
Yeah. No,
Yes, she was.
there wasn't a rabbit.
What was it?
Mrs. Goose, Mrs. Turtle.
Oh, that's right, you're right. Because he took Mrs. Turtle home and made turtle soup.
And, Mrs. Goose.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon didn't remember all the details, but so what? He had fun, and that's the point of the story. Of course, the other point of the story is that most of them do have that moral, and he did remember that. And I hope we all remember the morals to all the stories that we hear. Another venue where I like to tell stories is libraries. This is the Carnegie Public Library in the Homewood section of Pittsburgh. It's an old, beautiful building, and it's a perfect setting for people of all ages to come. There's literature there, obviously, else what's a library for? But we have nights at this library where people come together to sit and enjoy themselves, to enjoy each other, to browse through the books, to sing, just to enjoy themselves. And this is the kind of place I love to tell stories.
He looked beyond all of my faults and saw my needs. Thank you.
Because Anansi was a trickster, don't forget. He said, somebody told me that you think you're longer than a bamboo stick. Pah! No way. And the snake came out and said, oh, yes, I am. You get a bamboo stick. So Anansi took his machete, and he went over to the bamboo tree and cut off a long piece of bamboo, and he laid it down on the ground, and he said, okay, snake, crawl up next to it. Well, the snake crawled up next to it, but he wasn't quite as long because he had a hump in his back. And Anansi said, hey, don't worry. I'll get a piece of vine, and I'll tie it down, and maybe then you'll be as long. And the snake said, okay. So he tied him down. And then the snake still wasn't as long. And Anansi said, don't bother. I'll get another piece of vine and tie your tail down, and then maybe you'll be as long. So the snake said, okay. So he took a vine and tied his tail down. He still wasn't quite as long, and Anansi said, stretch your neck, stretch your neck. And the snake stretched his neck, but he still wasn't as long as the bamboo. And Anansi said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get another piece of vine, and I'll tie your neck down. The snake said, okay. So he did that, and he tied his neck down. And Anansi said, wow, you really are as long as that bamboo. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you over and show you to the tiger. So he went over to the tiger and said, here it is. And the tiger said, well, well, just because you did that so well, I'm going to see to it that from now until the end of the earth, there'll be hundreds of thousands of Anansi stories. And that's exactly how it started.
Here's another occasion where I was at the Homewood Library. This particular time, we had youngsters from the Homewood Montessori School listening to the African folk tales. And I've performed in a lot of different settings: schools, museums, family reunions, weddings, birthdays, Kwanzaa celebrations, colleges and universities, shelters for the homeless, nursing homes, libraries, hospitals.
The monkey said, no, I'm serious. Haven't you ever heard home is where the heart is? Well, I left my heart at home. So the shark said, okay. So they headed back home. And as soon as they got to land, the monkey jumped off his back and ran up the tree. Then he got the yellow paint and painted all over. Then he looked. He said, hold your neck down a minute. He leaned over. He said, that's not quite right. Don't forget that turtle was not just an artist. He was what? Artiste, right. So he got the black paint and he got...
My program involves more than telling stories, because sometimes the kids like to get involved in songs and games, so we teach them African songs and various games that give them a little lesson in getting along with other people, in taking responsibility for their actions, and other things they'll need as they go through life.
Anansi said, jump in the river. Anansi said, jump out of the river. Anansi said, jump in the river. Jump out of the river. Did anybody do anything? Hey, give her a hand for taking responsibility. You ready? Anansi said, jump out of the river. Anansi said, jump in the river. Anansi said, jump out of the river. Anansi said, jump in the river. Anansi said, jump out of the river. Anansi said, jump out of the river. Anybody? Anybody? All right, give her a hand for taking responsibility. We got two left, two left. All right. Here goes responsibility. Jump in the river. All right, give her a hand. Here's our winner. All right, very good.
I've been telling these African stories for a long time now, longer than I'd like to remember, as a matter of fact. But I do enjoy this work because I believe these stories have a universal message for kids of all ages, all races, all sizes. No matter where they come from, they can get something out of these stories. And as a matter of fact, I think that personal one-on-one is much better than having them watch TV all the time. As an actor, and a teacher, and a workshop leader, this also gives me a chance to interact with others on a personal basis and to get them to interact with each other. And I guess it helps to make me think that I am leaving a little bit of myself wherever I go. Thanks a lot for being with me.